Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. LSU picked up a commitment since we were last with you from four-star offensive lineman Devin Harper. Now, Devin Harper is obviously an excellent player solely because he's from Shreveport, the greatest place to be from in the world. Maybe an exaggeration, but he is from Shreveport, a Calvary Baptist Cavalier, and the latest commitment into LSU's 2025 class. And we understand what this state means to the football program at LSU. It is the lifeblood. There are certainly high-profile star players that come from outside the state. We've had a couple win Heisman trophies in the last 5 years. But when LSU is good, the backbone of the football team comes from this state. When the players in this state that are elite-level prospects go elsewhere, LSU will falter. That's just the reality of collegiate athletics and specifically LSU. And when Brian Kelly got this job, that was probably the biggest question. It wasn't, can he hire coaches? It wasn't, does LSU have the facilities? It wasn't, does he win wherever he goes? It was, how does he fit in the recruiting world down south? Because recruiting at Notre Dame and recruiting at LSU are two very different things. You're recruiting different areas of the country. You're recruiting different profiles of athletes. It's a different thing. And that first year, due to some circumstances out of his control, 6 of the top 10 players in the state left. But since then, he's made a concerted effort to get the players in Louisiana to play for LSU. There's a likelihood that 9 of the top 10 players in the state this cycle in 2024 will sign with LSU. And it's a good class in state. I wouldn't say it's one of the elite level ones. Talking about that 2011 group, 2013 group. Those were the Odell, Jarvis, Freak Johnson, Lael Collins, Jeremy Hill class. Then you move forward to the Leonard Fournette, Malachi Dupree class. This is like that in 2025. And we are a long way from those guys taking pen to paper, 11 months in a lot of cases. But LSU's starting to check them off one by one. The number 1 player in the state, Harlan Berry, St. Martin, committed. Number 2 player in the state, and this is by On3, Jabari Antoine, cornerback, Westgate, committed. The number 3 player in the state by On3, Devin Harper, committed yesterday, offensive lineman out of Calvary and Shreveport. Number 4 player in the state, Keelan Moses, linebacker from U-High, committed. Number 7 player in the state, J.D. LaFleur, tight end from Sulphur. Dad was a great player here in the 90s. He's committed. Brett Bordelon, Newman, number 8 player in the country, committed. Teron Francis, number 11 player in the country, Carr, committed. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the top 11 are already committed to LSU, and none of the top 11 are committed elsewhere. Couple of things about that list of players. St. Martin, down there in New Orleans. Westgate in the 337. Calvary is up in Shreveport. U-High, Capital City, Baton Rouge. Sulphur, Southwest Louisiana. Newman, Uptown, Carr, West Bank. You got basically the entire state covered there. And they're committed to LSU. And when you do that, and you get this momentum with this many high-profile players in the state, that ball starts to roll downhill, and everybody wants to jump in. And oh, by the way, while you're checking off this elite-level class in Louisiana, one by one, it doesn't hurt that the number 1 player in the nation, who happens to be from Michigan, Bryce Underwood, is also committed to this class. And that's not it. The number 1 wide receiver in the nation, DeCorian Moore from Dallas, also in this class. Right now, according to On3, this class of 2025 has 3 5-star commitments, 4 top 20 players in the country, and 9 in the top 250. There are only 10 commitments in the class. You can have a lot of questions on whether or not Brian Kelly can recruit Louisiana, but they're being answered real quickly. Now, whether or not that results in championships, it's an entirely different question. We live in a different world than we did when Brian Kelly took over at LSU because the SEC's got 2 new big dogs in it. There are no divisions, and the playoffs just expanded to 12. So there are a lot more questions on that end than there are about whether or not LSU and this program can recruit the state of Louisiana. We know what he's done with this staff. It's been something we've talked about for 3 weeks. Joe Sloan, Cortez Hankton, Brad Davis, Bo Davis, Blake Baker, Corey Raymond. All these guys, roots in Louisiana. And they don't hide from it. They're throwing the Cajun bash over the weekend. I don't think that's necessarily to recruit a bunch of guys from Northern California. It's about the guys from this state, the boot, the state of football. It's a saying that Brian Kelly came up with right when he got the job. And they are doing a masterful job of putting together this class in state. Devin Harper is the latest, and he fits exactly the profile that LSU has been after since Brian Kelly got this job. He's 6'5", he's 287 pounds. This is a chorus that we've sung over and over and over again. When Brian Kelly is the head coach at LSU, you are not going to sign a bunch of 6'3", 345-pound high school linemen. That is not the way he operates. It's not to say that LSU hasn't had some really good 6'3", 340-pound high school offensive linemen. Trey Turner was that. He was great. It's not the way Brian Kelly sees his offensive line. It's not the way Brad Davis sees his offensive line. They want long, lean guys that fill out and can move. And that's what they've done year after year after year. And that's what's taken probably the weakest link of the program 3 years ago, the offensive line, and turned it into potentially the greatest strength in the program right now. Devin Harper had offers from Georgia and Florida State. Everybody was in on him. And sometimes people down here in South Louisiana worry about locking down North Louisiana. Well, Devin Harper made that commitment. He's a top 5 player in the state by all 4 services. 24/7's got him as the second best player in the state of Louisiana. But he's a good one and a guy they had to get. And oh, by the way, just as you kind of connect recruiting dots, Devin Harper, Calvary Baptist, offensive lineman commits. He's got a teammate that can play a little bit as well. And you look at Harlem Berry as the number 1 running back in the state of Louisiana. James Simon is the number 2 running back in the state of Louisiana. He goes to Calvary. A&M's in the mix. Texas is in the mix. But LSU very much in the mix. And maybe with his teammate on board, James Simon might look up and go, I'd like to jump in as well. He's a number 5 player in the state by on 3. That would give LSU commitments from the top 5 players in the state and 6 of the top 7. It's so, so important. And I understand that there are many of you, and I would probably join you in this in saying that it's tough to follow recruiting these days. And with the transfer portal, sometimes these wins are nullified down the line. So how can I get excited about it right now? And that's a perfectly reasonable place to be coming from. Perfectly reasonable. You can look at A&M's class from 2 years ago, the greatest class ever. Half of it's gone. And the coach got fired. So I understand. But the best way to win in college athletics and college football is to recruit great high school players. And in LSU's case, when you're talking about baseball, basketball, football, it's about recruiting guys with professional futures. And this state produces a ton of them. And LSU has got to get their hands on them out of high school if they're going to be successful. You can look at what Lane Kiffin's doing in Oxford and think that looks all shiny and pretty, and it might work and it might not. I don't know. I know what does work, and that's recruiting 5-star and high 4-star players and developing them. You know who does that? Nick Saban. You know who's been doing that? Kirby Smart. We'll see if the Kiffin method works. I know this one does. And LSU's doing an awesome, awesome job. And I'm not somebody that follows recruiting day by day by day, and we talk to Shay about it, and we talk to Billy about it a lot. But this is the important stuff. And when you've got a class in Louisiana that's got this many high-end players, getting them all in the boat before they finish their junior year of high school is massive. And I expect this class to get nothing but better because of the momentum that LSU's created, 1, in the state, and 2, with those high-profile out-of-state commits. This could be a monster, monster class for LSU, and that's the best way to start cultivating a championship program. Hats off to Brian Kelly. Hats off to Brad Davis, the entire staff for getting that done. They're doing some recruiting work right now. Terry Bussey is in town, the 2024 product. It's a 5-star recruit, and we'll see where things shake out with that one coming up next week when signing day for the late signing period for the 2024 class. But right now, we're talking about the 2025 class, and it is a special, special looking group right now for Brian Kelly and the LSU football program. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.